Uh, Good evening to you all. I want to welcome you for today's engagement. This is a continuation of our previous engagement, where we had Comrade Howard and Comrade Mayanja speaking about the same topic. And we believe there are a number of questions which remained outstanding in the same line of the topic, which we really need to dissect as we move on in today's Twitter space. Comrade Okoth, we salute you for the solidarity action. We are aware the other Friday you were not able to join us as we are in preparation for the solidarity action, the vigil of Comrade Thuran Maseko. May his soul rest in peace. We salute you and all other movements in Kenya who staged a number of actions, including street protests, to show solidarity and to continue amplifying the voice demanding for the justice of the comrade who was assassinated by Swati's regime. We salute you. And we salute also all other movements who have come out to write statements of solidarity and amplification in all ways. Comrade Howard, we also salute you with Lubaga Social Center for the solidarity and sharing messages to amplify the same voice towards the demand of the comrade. Yeah, indeed, that is the solidarity we have longed up to, and we believe at the end of the day, we shall be able to build the unity and the solidarity. In the same spirit, we believe that as we continue standing together, we shall be able to arrive at a region which is free and just all of us. Last time we shared about some key things, including Comrade Howard citing about the Universal Periodic Review, where it says that after the documentation, we can try to lobby or to push in our documentations to UN, where Comrade Howard cited about the Universal Periodic Review, and you said the same movement can try to lobby for a representative at the same platform. But you also cited that despite going there, there are still a number of challenges which can be encountered at the same level, on the same platform. So in today's meeting, we want to really have a bigger insight around the same issue, how we can overcome such, and what other activities can be done to ensure that we can achieve that. You also talked about building solidarity with these other natives of the member states, which sit on these committees, that they can be also in position to influence their governments to respond in this regard. I think we need to dissect more. So as we wait for other members to join, I believe we shall proceed systematically, given the beauty that always our recording remains here. So those who will tune in will be able to join in. So Comrade Okoth, I will invite you really to say something regarding this, given that we didn't have you in this space. What we really want to examine is that we may not be able to do this documentation as a team, but we can have so many other people out there who can do the same thing. And after that, what next? There has been myths and conspiracies that documentation really does not help much. Some people say this is a process needed at the end of that this is a process needed at the end of the transition or after transition for some kind of reconciliation and something of that sort. But in the same spirit, as we have been always discussing around in the same space about the misrule and so many injustices in Uganda, you realize that it has been a challenge that even when we speak about the misrule, the oppression in Uganda, you'll find that the same people we are talking about, the same people we are condemning, they continue to go to the Western community or the international community and continue to receive the same support from the same donors who pause uh, to advocate for human rights, who pause to advocate for democracy. So that one shows you that in Uganda, despite the fact that violations surpass any other issue in Uganda, but outside there, it looks like it's not existing or they're not paying much attention. And in one way or the other, we would love to attribute it to the fact of there's so many cover-ups used by the regime, and there's so many diversionary tactics employed by the regime. So moving forward, we believe that if we can have documented evidence of these atrocities, on so many occasions the regime has tried to deny these atrocities. And as we discussed previously, the regime has tried to frame, has tried to blackmail, has tried to misinterpret these atrocities. So we feel like documentation of these atrocities give life to these violations we are talking about. But then we are asking, how do we use these documentations at the end of the day to make sure that we push the struggle forward? Contrary to those who believe that the data documented can only be used after the transition or can only be used during the reconciliation. Comrade Okoth, the floor is yours. You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Julius Okoth. I'm a social justice activist based in Nairobi. Last week, I was not able to attend to this meeting because I was busy. I was part of the organizing team that was organizing a vigil and a protest. First, we had a vigil on Saturday in Nairobi. Then the following Monday, we had a protest and giving out a petition to Foreign Affairs Ministry here in Kenya, because Eswatini or Swaziland does not have an embassy in Nairobi. So we had to give the petition to Ministry of Foreign Affairs, so that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs can give that petition to the government of Swaziland. So it was just a solidarity. No, solidarity is good. This cross-border solidarity can strengthen. It's called a cross-pollination kind of solidarity. So it was very, although we cannot necessarily see its impact, but there's a way that the, the kind of action that Kenyans took showed that we as African or people living in the global south are always interconnected in the struggles. So, because injustice anywhere, it's injustice everywhere. So, what happened in Swaziland, the horrific assassination of Comrade Sulani Maseko, it was also our injustice that happened to us as African people. So, as activists, we need always to have solidarities and cross pollination within ourselves. There's power in solidarity. That's what I believe in. So for today's topic is very critical, although I was not here last week. But so the question that you ask yourself, what next after documentation of violations? uh, by state. What next is critical. So it depends with the context. What did we document? So what next depends with what you document. Is what you documented, is it sensitive? Is it something that you can just give out? So it depends with what kind of documentation that one did, either individually or as an organization. Now let's talk about now the state violations, because it's the state that we are targeting here. Maybe, for example, let's ask what kind of violations that happen. Is it extrajudicial killings? What we need to ask ourselves, what kind of violations happen? Because the next step depends with what kind of violations that happen. Now, let's take, for example, the issue of extrajudicial killings or police killings during a protest. You see, now we have documented and we've gotten facts that, and even we have got facts from people from the victims of violence. So, if it is about state violence, let's say extrajudicial killings, things like extrajudicial killings are very sensitive. Those are the things that you cannot take to media. Those are the things before you do, you need to look at who's right to give this information. That's the critical question that you need to ask yourself, especially if it is about extrajudicial killings. If it's other kind, because there are some other violations that are not sensitive that you can just tell the media that this is what happened. And what next is about when you're taking all this information, maybe this documentation that you have done. If it's something that's secret, because some people are saying that maybe you can be a whistleblower, because some people always like to hide the person who came up with that documentation. So if it's about extrajudicial killings, as a person who have documented, we need to ask ourselves, where are we taking what next? Where am I taking this what have we documented? If it's about extrajudicial killings, we need to understand, because you have talked about something about a universal periodic review, but there are some steps that before you go to universal periodic review, there's some steps that I'm not so good notes about how the steps that's being taken for what you have documented to go to universal periodic review. There are some organizations that are certified. I don't know whether it is with the UN or some kind of things, but as an activist, ordinary activist that have done documentation, if it's about extrajudicial killings, you see, in UN, there we have UN special rapporteur, different categories of special UN rapporteurs. There are some UN rapporteurs that are dealing with the extrajudicial killings. There are special rapporteurs that are dealing with the issue of human rights. There are special rapporteurs that are dealing with the right to freedom of assembly. There are special rapporteurs that are dealing with the issue of queer people. There are special rapporteurs that are dealing with the people, indigenous people. There are different categories of UN special rapporteur. So as an activist, as an HRD, we need to identify a UN special rapporteur that you are supposed to take this, what you have documented, especially if you don't belong to any organization, because some HRDs can do by themselves. You know, when you're doing documentation, some it can be done with an organization, some can be done with an individual human rights defender. So after documenting, do you know any, especially if it is about extrajudicial killings, do you know any UN special rapporteur on extrajudicial killings? If you know one, and you know his address, you know his email address, it is upon that person to write with that UN special rapporteur and give that information, because all special rapporteur are very secretive people. They're very secretive and they know what they do because they're people who are specialized on that matter. So if it's about extrajudicial killings, what you have documented, you can take to UN special rapporteur on the extrajudicial killings. That is about extrajudicial killings. That's why you can take. I think that's what I can say as for now, as we continue with the topic. Thank you.
I thank you, Comrade Okoth, for that insight. Unfortunately, I think due to network, we are not able to have Comrade Award. But the other previous conversation where we are unable to have you because of some engagements, we realized that Comrade Award shared a very important issue where he said that in some instances, you may find that, for example, you try to submit in your documentations. Maybe you are trying to push them to the UN Human Rights Council, and then it says they're supposed to be subjected to the periodic review or something of that sort, which takes a given period of time. But then also he cites out an issue where these processes take so long, and an issue where these countries tend to negotiate or just tend to cleanse the mess that has been caused or the violations cited in the report, other than taking actions. And also cites that these processes sometimes take long to happen. And indeed, I want to qualify that because we have seen instances in Uganda where, for example, politicians have written these reports, have submitted, for example, petitions to international human rights bodies. But then at the end of the day, you realize that they take so long to hear what has happened and something of that sort, that by the time, even when they take action like sanctions, you find that the sanctions which are taken are affecting people who already retired, even when they committed these crimes and something of that sort. So there comes in a question that how do we, is there any way how the people who have submitted in these documentations can try to build pressure or mount pressure around that this issue can be prioritized, or with such a processes, building external pressure doesn't work? Like the way you cite now the issue of the special rapporteur on maybe extrajudicial killing, in that sense, that when you submit this process and maybe it seems like the process is not moving as expected, does consolidating external pressure work in that sense to influence the attention to the matter and something of that sort? Over to you, Comrade Oko.
Well, thank you again. In my own opinion, is that after documentation, to get some pressure, it's not necessarily that you give it to your own special rapporteur, because I think 2 weeks ago I talked about in every country there are foreign missions like ambassadors, and that's the reason why as a HRD, I'm talking about it because I'm not an NGO person. I'm not an organization person. I believe in the movement because I believe that I believe that it's self-organizing. I don't believe that when you're documenting it necessarily, it has to be done with this organization. An HRD can have what called self-organized, can go and self and do it. So it depends on networks that we have. So when you're an HRD, you need to have a lot of networks like the foreign mission that is in the country. So they can be very important in such kind of issues there, where you can take those. Because every, when you see any foreign mission in the country, they're not only because they are there that they're in the country because because of investment or such kind of things. All foreign mission are like what can I say? They're they're like intelligence, especially when you have this what we call attaché, because in every foreign mission there are different kind of foreign attaché in those missions. So what they usually do, they usually gather information, especially when you go to those embassies. When you're taking coffee there, those attaché are people who are collecting information on behalf of their country. So they usually do intelligence work. Most of attachés are intelligence people for their countries. You can have military attaché, political attaché, and that kind of things. So whenever you're talking to them, they usually gather information. And that's the reason why, as an HRD, you need to identify this foreign mission. Who are you working with? Because sometimes they're very good. They can be friends. Sometimes those information you can take it to them and they can help. So by pressuring, sometimes when you are giving out information, especially if it's about extrajudicial killings, uh, foreign missions are good, and especially if that what you have documented is being presented by a foreign mission, it can have an impact, because it not be seen as if it's yourself as a citizen, because it's a foreign mission that has taken that information to the next level. Maybe it has taken to UPR or has taken to the next level. So it's a matter of how strategic how strategic are you. For example, there is also another organization that's called Human Rights Watch. Uh, they usually publish every now and then. They usually publish whatever every human rights violation that's going on. So we need to have a network. The problem is that we don't have networks. Your network is your net worth. So if you don't have a network of UN Special Rapporteur, a network of foreign mission, or media, or organization like Human Rights Watch, it's critical for us human rights defenders to have those networks. Those are the networks that we can rely on. For example, if a Human Rights Watch have documented a violation maybe happened in a country and they publish it, it can give a pressure to that state, so that state can understand that something is going on. Although most of countries nowadays, and especially government spokesmen, they know how to, when they're being asked about violations that's going on in their country, they should say that they leave no stone unturned. They should come with so many issues about issues that have been raised. So it's upon us as human rights defenders, as activists, to identify our allies, or to identify people who can give this what you have documented. And if at all those it has been published in a universal periodic review. So we need to ask ourselves what will, because it's not necessarily that it's just that it's being published in universal periodic review. It is now because there's a process. Because when you want to release that periodic review, it always says each country, uh, in this time it will be Uganda, this time it will be Kenya, that which they shall bring their review. So it's upon us as activists to be extra vigilant, to know when is our periodic review being done. That's what activists should be extra vigilant to know, when is our country being reviewed. So when it's being reviewed, now's the time to give pressure, because they review what has been done already, because there is no documentation that goes to universal periodic review that is fake. They're always original. They're always original. They're not always fake. So it's upon us to be extra vigilant. So when now it's a country that is being reviewed, because reviewing a country sometimes can take even a day. So it's upon us now as activists now to start to amplify and say, today or this time it will be a country that will be start to review. So it tell the media, tell everything, to know that it's the time for our country to review, so people can, sometimes, by this reviewing, it can create some outrage. When people are serious, people will know that something's going on. So it's upon us to be extra vigilant. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Okoth. Comrade Awad, I've sent you the mic. You do, Comrade Awad, you do still speak about the similar issue of the periodic reviews which are done. Like last time you cited the delays which are made and the conspiracy within the member states to try to undermine this issue. But Comrade Julius raises a very pertinent issue for us to be in the know and also to create that much awareness. So Comrade Awada, I wanted you to share with us whether, oh, I think we have lost Comrade Awad again. Okay, I will switch back to you, Comrade Julius, as we wait for Comrade Awad. That you hint about the issue of media to know that the review is going to take place. Now, when we look at the side of direct action, is it important or is it strategic to try to organize some bit of direct actions or strategic non-violence? It can be symbolic, public acts, and whatsoever and so on and so forth, to build, to mount pressure, external pressure to push maybe these member states, maybe to push the committee handling this report to give it priority, and such that at the end of the day they don't make it disappear. You do comment about that, Comrade Julius. Meanwhile, Comrade Howard, I've sent you the mic. Please kindly accept it.
Well, on the issue of what do we do with what has been published by Universal Periodic Review, now it's upon us now as activists to self-organize. What do we do with the report that has come out? So it's upon us now because the world knows already what's happening. So it's now for organizers to amplify through media. It's now people to go back and have a committee and organize. It's a matter of self-organizing on that issue because activism without facts is not activism. So this one will be a direct action with the facts. Sometimes you can be asked with the international media, what are you fighting for, or what are you protesting against? It can be very easy to say that we're protesting because already in the Universal Periodic Review, it has said that maybe Uganda is number this and this because of doing some violations. So I tend to think the report can be very important in organizing and direct action because already facts it's already in our hands. So it's very crucial and very important. Those periodic review are very, very important to me. That's what I believe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I will still want to come back to you, Comrade Julius. Like to share the picture, you speak of Human Rights Watch. We speak of, for example, United Nations Human Rights Council and something of that sort. Are there other institutions at such a level, the international, the global level, or the international level, which can be of a similar importance, which needs to be reached out in that same direction? And what exact role can they play? Because some of these ones, for example, make recommendations, just make recommendations, but you find that other institutions, for example, take actions like maybe sanctions, cutting off donations and something of that sort. Would you share a picture about those international human rights bodies or international organizations which can be of same support? Because you've raised a very important question where, for example, we say we are protesting against misrule in Uganda and something of that sort, but then they ask what is that misrule you're fighting about? I think this is one of the things you have been facing. Then you find a regime coming out and totally deny about what you speak of, and then you don't have that evidence. So I'm trying to reflect that beyond maybe the UN human rights committees, and then you speak of, for example, Human Rights Watch. What other institutions that someone with this information, the activists with this information, can push them to, and what action, what cause of actions are those particular institutions can take beyond maybe recommendations? I must believe some of them take different actions. So would you throw more light around that, Comrade Okoth?
Well, myself as a person of civil resistance, I'm not a really believer of those institutions so much, but they can play a role because, when they have got those facts, now it's upon citizens because, it's not necessarily that those institutions like Human Rights Watch that will come to save us. They're not a messiah. So it's upon us now, citizens, because uh, those reports are ready with the Universal Periodic Review. All states understand it because all member states understand there's something wrong with a certain country. There's a relation going on maybe in Kenya or in Uganda. They know already. Now it's upon us now, citizens, to take action because sometimes uh, when you say that we leave it so much to those people, uh, it's like it's like sort of what we call dependency syndrome, and when there's this thing called that dependency syndrome, it will make us not to fight for ourselves. This report is to give us power among ourselves, to come out and fight, because sometimes people can think that now that it has been reported in periodic review, now I can relax. No, people are not supposed to relax. You know, just give them, then fight for ourselves. It needs citizens themselves to fight for themselves because we should not make that those states to look like a messiah on us. After getting this report, now it's upon us because facts are there. Facts are there. Facts are there everywhere. Foreign missions knows, UN knows, and other organizations. Because, like for example, that Human Rights Watch, they can just publish it and say it, but they don't do any action from there. So it's upon our citizens. Now it's the role now remains for citizens themselves to self-organize and fight against the violation that's going on and create outrage. Others will just come as allies and give solidarity, but the real action is with the people. So because already they know they'll stand in solidarity with the people in that country because they already know it. So it's upon the citizens themselves to fight for them because there's nobody else who come from outside to fight for a violation that's going on. You see, it's self-organizing and fight forward. And fight forward. Don't fall back, but fight forward. So it's upon the citizens themselves after getting. Because I'm talking about a fact, protest with the facts, civil resistance with the facts, and then you get sympathy. Because there's nobody who will come from another country to fight for you. It's you people to fight for yourselves, and people know that you're fighting for the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Okoth. Indeed, that's absolutely right that it's us to take action. But then we come at a time when this is informed by the fact that, for example, last time we have been crying of violations, state violence in Uganda, where, for example, we say people have been, for example, killed extrajudicially, brutalized, some have been abducted, and so on and so forth. But then you cite that these, for example, international community, they know about these issues and something of that sort. But then we having a feeling maybe there is no evidence. That's why we feel like, oh no, this needs really to be documented and we are having these facts and so on and so forth. Yes, indeed, much as we have to go and fight, but then we need to try to see how we use these evidences to try to influence these bodies which are continuing to give support. I want to connect the dots, for example, to the cooperation that continues between the regime and these international community and so on and so forth. We believe that if they are sent there and the voices are amplified, one way or the other, some are going to push out and maybe they will maybe try to shy away from maybe associating with the regime, something of that sort. So here, because even when people continue to go to the streets, when these suppliers and the donors continue to fund the regime to buy machineries and weapons they are using on the people, I think to a certain extent it costs our struggle much stronger. So that's why I was trying to ask you to highlight about those other international bodies that maybe ordinary people need to reach out to, that can take actions and which kind of actions are taking. For example, I must say, the way there was a ban on the Hong Kong government, the supply of firearms to the Hong Kong government, which was still renewed just this very week. For example, in that sense, I think that is a much contribution to the struggle. because even when citizens continue to go on the streets, when they're going to face that brute force. Having a regime which is financially standing, that means to be able to finance its own militia, to suppress the voices of the people. But if we have identified where these sources are coming from, so we're asking that, oh, pushing these evidences and facts to these international bodies, can it do something in influencing the sources of the monies which are given to the regime, for example? That as we have the direct action, then we can have this kind of lobbying, and then the strategic non-violence. Comrade Okoth, you can comment on that.
It's good for, sometimes, you can document, and what people have documented. You can just stay in a library, it can just be put somewhere, and people can, that's what you call, they're just condemning, like the way it's happened in South Africa. I was reading somewhere that the foreign mission or ambassador of US in Swaziland just condemn, there's condemning, you can just condemn, and things end there. Violations be done, then you condemn, then what next? And that's the reason why I'm not always so comfortable. Yes, they are very good, but I'm not always so comfortable with these international communities. They just condemn, and things ends there, and the violation can continue. So it's a matter of citizens, although they can know, but citizens has has responsibility, has the responsibility. The world has to know, but the citizens, because the world or the international community cannot fight for citizens. It's citizens who fight for themselves. There's what you call fighting for and fight with. So you see, international community cannot fight for, because they don't have machinery to come and fight. Maybe what they can do, maybe things like sanctions and such kind of things, which can take years, which have no much impact. So it's upon citizens themselves. So when international community comes, or foreign mission, they just fight with, but they not fight for. So it's upon citizens themselves to fight for themselves. When they see the revolution going on, they have to fight for themselves. Like, for example, yes, like here in Kenya, we stood in solidarity because we know people documented what happened with the Thulani Maseko. But we here in Kenya, we had we could have not done anything, because Swaziland is so far to us. So it's just started in solidarity. But it's upon the citizen of Swaziland to say, now it's time for Mswati must fall. It's for them to say and come out and fight. Because even if you fight here, we say Mswati must fall, it will not have any impact. So we just, as international solidarity, is just to fight with, or not. So they're not supposed to fight for. So citizens need to fight for themselves. Need to fight for themselves. So others are starting in solidarity. So it's good for them to understand what you have documented, but citizens, it's upon citizens to fight for themselves. That's what I can say. It's good to document and those things to be there. You see, US will condemn, like there sometimes violation is happening in Uganda. It is documented. It's in United people. You see this Universal Periodic Review. It is there. They'll just condemn, and things are end there. So it's upon them citizens, when they have these facts, it's upon themselves to rise up and fight for themselves. So others will come and fight with. They'll tell themselves solidarity, and that will be end of them. So it's about citizens, and that's the reason why I need continuous organizing and organizing. Let us use what we have documented to fight for our rights. We have to fight for our rights of what have documented, because those are facts, and it's very good to document. Very good to document. So when you have documented, citizens will come out, and every citizen must know, because you find that even these things called Universal Periodic Review, maybe there are very few people that understand what is going on in Universal Periodic Review. So if those what have documented, it has to come back to the citizens and being told that maybe Uganda is in this position in periodic review, or if it is so, citizens who are there, let's say for example, people who are away from Uganda, where that Universal Periodic Review are being announced, they have to do some actions from there so that the world can understand. So all in all, its citizens to fight for themselves. Documentation is good, and that can be the way forward to fight for our rights. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that clarification. I think all of us who are tuned, we're on the same page. In case you have any question, you can raise it as we shall be winding up. Comrade Awad, I've sent you the mic, but I don't know whether your internet is able to get us. I will switch back to Comrade Okoth. Simply, for example, Comrade Okoth, we have had bodies like the African Union, we have the African Commission on Human Rights, and so on and so forth. So to what extent can this information documented can impact this, like after the documentation and this and this? So do you find it of influence or impact to these institutions? Can this information shift these institutions to a certain level? Now leaving now the global level, coming to the regional level, because still some of these individuals, the duty bearers or the perpetrators are represented or sit on those same bodies, and so on and so forth. Yes, because we feel like, yes, organizing continues to happen on a smaller scale to build that bigger force and so on and so forth. But I must believe it is systemic that the regime demoralizes those who attempt to organize by exerting the brute force and so on and so forth. So we feel like as the organizing continues, then these violations which continue to mount, we can find a way how we can utilize the regime, find it very difficult to meet that violence onto these individuals. So I'm looking at now institutions like the African Commission on Human Rights, African Union, and so on and so forth, East African Court, and so on and so forth. So, to what extent do you find them of impact that after documenting all these and they engage, they can, to a certain extent, cause result in that sense? Over to you, Comrade Okoth.
What I can say about these institutions, maybe African commissions, uh, I think those, because even these dictators in Africa don't respect those institutions. Maybe there was one institution like ICC, International Criminal Court. A little bit, they used to respect it, but there was a time even in Africa, like even in Kenya, they were saying that this ICC is just targeting Africa. And when cases are going to ICC, it's just because it came up because of documentation. When people are documenting all these violations, so you realize that even dictators that we have here in Africa, they don't respect those institutions. They don't. They don't even care about them. You'll see that maybe somebody is in leadership. How can somebody be want to be arrested by ICC? Who will arrest? So it depends with the willing. Is a country willing to take somebody to ICC? Yeah? So it depends because I've realized they don't respect those institutions. Those institutions are just there. Also, we have, for example, East African Court of Justice. It's there, but you realize any resolutions or the judgment coming from East African Court of Justice is not even respected. For example, here in Kenya, we've taken so many cases in the East African Court of Justice, but when the judgment has been taken from East African Court of Justice, it's not even, nobody obeys even the court order of East African Court of Justice. So many cases here in Kenya have been taken to East African Court of Justice. Nobody is respecting the court orders. So African people don't respect any law. They don't respect any court. They don't respect those institutions. Those institutions can just help us in amplifying, but dictators that we have in Africa don't respect those institutions. It's only ICC that shook them a little bit. But for example, maybe let's say, for example, that we say that, for example, Museveni, who's a dictator in Uganda, maybe is wanted by ICC. Who will take Museveni to ICC? Who has power to take? Will they come and arrest him? They are taking him to ICC. Yeah, you see, so it's upon citizen. Maybe I don't know what can be done, but these guys don't respect institutions. Institutions are just there. Institutions just there to keep